As the world crumbles, the windows shatter and the globe turns, QTVNickBro from his nuclear bunker in Kiev talks with his guest of the day. I'm Vitalia and here's QTV.
Thank you, Tara. Welcome to the final episode of ATWC. I'm QTVNickBro, and what a show we have for you. Huh? Oh. Oh, okay. I've been told that this is not the final episode. This is the pre-final episode of our show. Welcome, I guess, to the pre-final episode of AWC. So, I hope you're having a great day as well. And if you like this podcast, then don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Nearly forgot there. Anyways, so today's guest is someone who, in my opinion, needs more exposure because they're good at what they're doing, like very. I really like their art, and what is that art? You're probably wondering. It's music. I have big respect for musicians and people in the art space in general, and their work especially. And today is no different. I'd like to invite another Songfight alumni, someone whose entries are in my daily playlist. Please welcome Robyn Mackenzie. Say hi, Robyn.
Glad to be here.
Oh, so am I. Tell us about yourselves.
That's always such a broad question. So I'm Robyn Mackenzie. I am in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I've been doing Songfight for about 3 years. I started in 2020, but I've been doing music pretty much my whole life. Been doing February album writing month since 2009. And on top of music, I like to write fiction, do art, and hang out with my wife and doggies.
Oh, nice. So you mentioned that you're from New Mexico. Can you tell us more about New Mexico in general, to those who may not be so familiar with the place?
Yeah, a lot of people kind of think of New Mexico as just sort of an extension of Arizona, just very hot, dry, desert, heat all the time. It's a very beautiful state. We have a lot of mountains. We have the Rio Grande River going through the middle of the state. It's gorgeous out here. We get the best thunderstorms, the best sunsets. I think it's just really pretty.
That's nice. And so about your music career, what made you start? What made you start to? No, what's the word? What made you take up music?
So yeah, one of my most vivid memories. I was 4 years old, and I was at a festival with my mom. And there were these kids there, and they were playing violin, and they were all up on stage. And I just pointed to them, and I was like, I want to do that. So my first instrument was actually violin. I started shortly after that festival. I was 4 years old. My father is also a songwriter. He plays guitar, drums. So he kind of kept me going with like writing my own songs and continuing to learn. So it's always been like a really big part of my life.
Wow. And do you still play the violin?
Yeah, I do. It's been a while since I've really picked it up, but I do love it. My favorite composer is Bach, and it's definitely my first love.
Nice. And how did you take up the guitar?
I started guitar when I was about 13 years old. My dad took me to the local music shop, and we picked out a guitar. It was a gigantic blue J Tercer. And I started learning basic chords. I always kind of wanted to be like a rock star, so that's kind of where I started off writing, as punk as I could with what little I knew.
That's nice. I suppose, like, you still actively play the guitar, obviously,
Yeah.
and the violin. But do you play any
Mhm.
other musical instruments?
I do play piano and ukulele, but I work with those probably a lot less than I used to. And then I also do like the electronic digital music production.
Oh, nice. Um, but have you considered playing in a band, for example?
Yeah, I actually used to play with a few bands. They were all country bands. That's kind of the scene out here in New Mexico. It was really fun. I enjoyed it. Um, but I think because of the pandemic and just kind of where I've been in my life, I just haven't really sat down with other musicians like in the same room to do a band. A couple of years ago, there was like an instant band uh, challenge for Song Fight, and I did participate in that, and that was really really fun. So yeah, be nice to play with some other musicians again.
That's nice. Playing, finding people through that space, I suppose. But how did you discover Song Fight?
So Pig Farmer Jr. actually is a farmer, and we keep in touch on a pretty regular basis through social media, through FOM, and he kept posting about it. So I was like, hey, it's 2020, it's mid-pandemic. I was working part-time, had, really wanted to get into music more, so I checked it out and I loved it. It was really fun.
Huh, who knew that a user by the name of Pig Farmer would be, well, a farmer? I had no idea about that. That's nice.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, and did you play at any like venues or concerts of any kind?
I am actually playing a gig tomorrow. It's a local porch fest. It's called Santa Fe Portal Fest. So I'll be playing a set around 3:30 tomorrow here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. There's going to be like 50 other bands. There's going to be art. There's going to be wellness activities. So I'm really looking forward to that. Post pandemic, I haven't played out too much, but I'm trying to get back into it just to flex those muscles more.
Huh. I see. And since you played like outside in these gigs, I suppose you got a bit famous in some communities. And did you have any instances of people recognizing you on the street?
I really don't. I, I mean, I know a lot of like kind of making it in today's music world involves like a lot of self promotion and marketing, and I'm not. It's not my jam. I like making the art. I like putting it out there. But trying to network and be visible it's harder for me. I'm a big introvert. I really like to keep to myself, and so yeah, nope, not famous.
Well, I suppose not really. How do you say this? You don't really like flash it like that much. You do have a website, I know, and you do have social media. By the way, what social medias do you have that you can put into the video description?
Yeah, it's I have Instagram, Facebook, Threads. It's at Robyn Mackenzie Music. If you want to check those out.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was I? Why am I so nervous? Yeah. I was going to ask a question about like I remembered. So when I listen to your music on YouTube, I also usually musicians they have to sign, I suppose, record deals of some kind because their music is usually released through record companies. But with whom did you like sign? I suppose. Well, sign is maybe it's a bit of a stretch if you're not like famous as you mentioned. But who does the heavy lifting in your music, like stuff like releasing
Yeah.
it on platforms? and stuff?
So I go through CD Baby, which is pretty much kind of a DIY, independent kind of way of doing things. So, I submit a song to them. They take care of the distribution, collect royalties from streaming, which, as we all know, is, not an excessive amount. But yeah, so that's kind of really probably where maybe what you're asking is, I don't have like an agent. I don't have a record label. I'm unsigned, but that's how I get my music out into the world is through CD Baby.
Well, yeah, kind of like I understood because you're very much indie, is right? You're kind of proud of it, I suppose. And I wanted to ask you a question since I listen to your music myself. Can you tell me what are your songs about? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm the type of person who doesn't get the meanings of songs usually. Like, I remember I used to listen to Bo Burnham. You know Bo Burnham, right?
Oh yeah.
And I did not understand the deeper meanings in the songs. I just listen to them because they're catchy and stuff. He would actually parodied in one song as well. But what about you? Like, what are your songs usually about?
I tend to play with a few different themes pretty consistently. So I write a lot about mental health, recovery, addiction. Those are things I've experienced in my own personal journey. But I also write a lot about like social justice and politics, things going on in the world. One of my biggest influence is, I would say, growing up is Green Day, American Idiot, kind of like this whole concept album about the establishment and the problems with it, and kind of persevering through prejudice, oppression, hate, all that stuff. And so that's really influenced my music a lot. Kind of trying to get a message across about equality, about justice. So those are kind of my main themes. And then every now and then I'll write kind of your fun, typical pop song, because those are fun to write.
Nice. And from what I heard, you experiment with genres a lot. But what is your favorite music genre to write?
What's my favorite genre to write? Psychedelic rock and like bubblegum pop. I know those kind of contrast each other a little bit. They're not necessarily like ones you think about going together, but I'd say those are my two absolute favorite to write, and the ones I write in the most often. It's so much fun to play with like cool chord progressions, but also like synths and drum beats. I just feel like there's a lot you can play with within those genres. That is just really fun for me.
Nice. And what is your favorite music of yours that you wrote?
So back in 2020, I released my second album. My first album actually came out in 2010. Very folky, very different than the stuff I do now. But I released my album Wild Heart, which is very much a collection of that kind of psychedelic indie rock. And that one is really close to my heart because it's got some very meaningful songs on it. One of the songs, Circles, is about like a very spiritual experience I had. That kind of is a theme throughout the whole album, is spirituality. And then that social justice piece, like I mentioned, and some resilience as well, overcoming trauma, overcoming challenges.
Yeah, and you mentioned recovery. Are you comfortable with, before I ask, are you okay with me asking about it, like the topic?
Sure, yeah. I mean, mental health has been a struggle for me throughout my life. I do have a diagnosis of bipolar, PTSD, and so like substance use and self-harm and psychosis are a big part of what I've been through. And so I end up writing about those a lot in terms of like, here's what has helped me recover, and with the hopes that, hearing these topics addressed in these songs will help other people struggling with the same challenges, realize that they can heal, that they can overcome these challenges, and, make something beautiful out of them.
Oh, that's nice. I remember on your website, I once went, there was a secret album for this kind of stuff. Pretty nice Easter egg, by the way. And so you overcame these problems, and are now trying to help others. That's very nice of you. And so how do I put this? I was going to ask about indie artists. So, do you collaborate with anyone else, other than bands that I asked before, like individual solo artists, for example? Do you do any collabs?
Yeah, throughout February album writing month and 5090, I will collaborate with people. And then I've collaborated with friends and family close to me. My wife is also a singer-songwriter, so we have collaborated quite a bit, which is really great. Our styles are vastly different, so it's always kind of interesting when we do collaborate to see which direction they go. Sometimes they sound more like something she's written, sometimes they sound more like something I've written. So it's fun. I'm probably pretty terrible at timelines, but it is really fun.
So you mentioned you're bad at timelines. So how do you say this? Deadlines, right?
Yeah.
Oh, same. I can very much relate to that. So you talk about equality, and the impression I'm getting is that you're a liberal leaning person.
Very much so.
That's pretty based, as they say. And you mentioned right now. Let's. What is wrong with me today? I'm completely out of picture, out of tune. Keep me on a musical theme. Who do you identify as? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're talking about kind of social or political leanings.
No, I mean sexuality.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely a lesbian.
Oh, nice.
I came out when I was about 16, and that was rough because we were still very much in a time in America where LGBTQ issues were not talked about. It was very pushed under the rug. Don't ask, don't tell was still a thing. And I faced a lot of problems when I did come out. I lost friends. I was banned from sleepovers. And it took me a long time to kind of overcome a lot of that internalized hatred and homophobia that I developed. And now I'm finally at a point where I'm like, okay, this is me. This is who I am. I have, this attraction for women. I'm married to a woman. I love her so much. And I don't want to hide it from anybody. I shouldn't have to.
Oh, that's very nice that you overcame social justice as well. Here in Ukraine, we don't have marriage allowed yet, but there has been a law submitted to allow civil stuff. I forget how it's called. It's almost marriage, but also kind of not. So that's a good counterpoint, because during martial law here, because there's a war, let's not forget about that.
Right.
Yeah, the Constitution, you have to change the Constitution, because the Constitution says that only, it's not only, it just says that marriage is between a man and a woman, so Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, but it's still pretty interesting to hear like what about people from the LGBTQ community, because we really need to support these people, and
Mhm.
we need to do everything in our uh, um, hands to make it a better place for them. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's nice. Nice story there. Now, have you ever like now since you're from New Mexico, uh,
Mhm.
and you mentioned Arizona. Did you ever visit other parts of America, like Arizona, for example?
I would love to visit all 50 states. I actually grew up partly in California. Was born and raised in the Bay Area, and then moved out to New Mexico when I was about 12. So, kind of grew up half California, half New Mexico. I love traveling. Um, I would absolutely love to like go on tour and do like a cross country road trip. That would be super fun. But one day, one day.
And that's nice. I want to ask one more thing about your struggles in the past, uh, social struggles there. Is your family like was your family supportive of you when you came out?
My family, thankfully, is very supportive. Um, my parents were totally on board when I came out with them. It was really other people in my life that I got pushback from. Um, but no, I'm very blessed. I'm very privileged to have a family that is supportive, that is open minded. Um, so yes, very lucky. A lot of people don't have that.
And since I suppose like the music is your like side thing for the most part,
Mhm.
who do you work as your main like job?
My main job. So I work in mental health.
Oh,
I am a behavioral health care manager with a company called Mindula. So what I do is I provide counseling over the phone, behavioral health support for people who are just kind of going through a rough time. They might be dealing with anything from like postpartum depression to like schizophrenia to PTSD to just kind of going through some stressful times. But I love it. It's an amazing job. I love the work I do. I feel like I can really make a difference.
oh, that's nice. You like paid back, I suppose. Like when you got
Yeah.
help, and now you're giving help to others. That's really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of help to other people, what are some of the tips you can give to other indie artists who are just starting, to write music and stuff?
Yeah, I would say don't be worried about writing the crap, because the more of the crap you write, the more gems you're going to find. Um, you know, and don't sacrifice your art for anything. The algorithm is saying pump out this many posts a day, make this many reels, have this many followers, and that is not as important as the art. My point of view is if one person finds my music meaningful and finds healing in that, then I've done my job. So I would just tell anybody, like, the art is priority number one. And and don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to collaborate. You learn so much with every song. I think it's really wonderful.
Yeah, that's good advice. Don't always listen to like haters. I remember I had one. He told me that I should, instead of doing this podcast, I should make Five Nights at Freddy's Let's Plays. And to which I said no. So no, you're not from Kryvyi Rih. I'm not making Let's Play videos. I know he's watching this. No.
Yeah.
I had to be a bit petty there. As for a joke. Actually, he's not really a hater, but he told me to branch out, I suppose. But I don't really care about the Final Freddy's. I'm sorry. And like, I play games. Do you play games? Actually,
Some games, yeah. I really like Settlers of Catan, some board games. Um, been enjoying some of the Pokemon games lately and Final Fantasy, so that's been fun.
Lately, do you have a Nintendo Switch console?
Yeah, we have a Switch.
Oh, nice. Same. I haven't played it in ages though. You should get
Yeah,
it.
and just so you know, I am gonna have to go. Unfortunately, my lunch break is now over.
Oh, you
But thank
work
you.
right now?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
But thank you for having me on. This was really fun.
No problem. Can I ask you one more question before
Sure, yeah.
we go?
Yeah.
Okay, what are your future plans?
My future plans.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Well, I've got an album I'm working on. I'm working on writing an urban fantasy trilogy, hoping to get that published someday. And just continuing to live my life. I've got a really great life. I've got a family I love. I've got hobbies and art that I do that I love. I've got a career that I love. So yeah, just continuing to love life and keep going.
That's nice. I wanted to ask you. I asked you the wrong question by accident. I mean, that is a great question as well. But I was meant to ask you a bit of an offer here, like right on the show. Would you like to play one of your songs for the final episode of my podcast?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That didn't take long. Thank you for taking up that.
You're so welcome.
And thank you for taking up the podcast offer as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for coming. Now I don't want to rush you, so all right. I guess we can go now to Extra Dish. So on Extra Dish, my dear listeners, I'd like to mention that I now have a new video editor, DesertFox, who now as well as video. He does the audio and video, so if you hear and see improvements, then you know why. I also want to say that I won't spoil what will happen in the final episode. It will be a surprise, total surprise. Like, total. Stay tuned, it'll be very interesting. Thank you for joining. That was all for the podcast. See you later. Bye.